Now just what has the world come to, guys? It's the Mattress guy speaking to you live from Japan. Now today is the 1st of August, Saturday, 2026, and as you have seen the title on the thumbnail, there has been a shocking news, guys, that has a profound implication to virtually all the immigrants living in Japan, regardless of how long you have lived in this country. How long, right? This time round, guys, I'm not just talking about the small mom and dad businesses that got just wiped out recently. Like I said in the past videos, that is just that, I'm afraid, right? Because we now have something more serious on the table today. I'm telling you, right? Because, guys, just a few days back, right? A few days, literally, which was the 25th of July, right? There has been an announcement of another wave of law, that would go into effect from October this year, I believe. And by the way, for those of you who don't have much time and are watching this video, I'll just let you know the bottom line here that there is a 60% chance, right? This is my number, by the way, right? This is not official, but my way of calculating 60% chance that you have to weigh your options on leaving Japan, if not permanently, but especially if your income, is at the the lower end of the spectrum. As insensitive as this sounds, but that is precisely what the new law is euphemistically telling you to do otherwise. And my bad feeling is that they can further lower the limbo, the bar, right? And in the future, anytime, shall they fail to reach the target number of people leaving Japan, because I'm sure that there is a target, a number essentially, tens of thousands, I don't know, just to show that they're making a progress to the, I guess, Prime Minister. And although I don't have all the details about the new law with me today, I'll just let you know the three, the major takeaways, the stipulations, so to speak, that you should bear in mind if you're an immigrant applying for a permanent residence visa here in Japan, and I will share you my thoughts on this, as that will be the core topic of my video today. Right, so that said, right, the stipulation number one, and what is it? Well, number one is that your annual income must exceed that of the average Japanese household, right? And as vague as that sounds, which is subjective at best, right? And I will share you the actual number and what that number is actually, and my thoughts in detail after all this. And in the stipulation number two, right, is that you must have contributed to the national pension for 30 years or more, 30 years, right? Otherwise, you must prove that you have an equivalent amount of saving to live, until the last minute of your life, I guess. But, guys, does that not all depend on your spending habit until the last minute of your life anyway? Yeah, and it's like, you never know what's going to happen to you anyway. Like, you could lose your job any day, tomorrow, right? Amid this, the proliferation of AI and taking away jobs, which is all too common nowadays. And then what would you do? And number three, you must take a Japanese proficiency exam, just to put a cherry on top of all this nonsense. Anyway, so I have shared you the three stipulations that will come into effect from October this year, and here are my thoughts. Now, what are they, right? So, now, first and foremost, right, I believe that the government's motive behind all of this is that, like I have said in the previous videos I've been watching, they are desperate in balancing their sheet for their social security. They just don't have enough money to feed all the mouth. And so they are desperate in, ridden people who are eligible of being paid for their pension and any kind of social security, including but not limited to the unemployment benefit, which itself being a big topic of abuse nowadays, seriously. And on the other hand, they are more than happy to accept rich people, as materialistic as that sounds, who could contribute to the country, and although they don't seem to want to blatantly make anything like Donald Trump's golden platinum card. If you know what are those, for a vast amount of money, which I believe is $1 million and $5 million respectively. But it looks to me that Japan the government, they're heading that way. Now let me go back to stipulation number one, which is about having to exceed the average household income in Japan, whose value is very questionable, guys. Because I say that because the statistics say that the average income in Japan is around 6 million JPY, give or take half a million, right? Just to be fair, all right. Lo and behold, guys, a whopping 37.5%. Yep, I just said 37.5% of the Japanese population are earning less than 50 million JPY, which is only around 3,000 USD. And if that doesn't raise your eyebrow somehow, and I want to let you know here that there are more than 50% of the population in Japan earning less than 2.5 million JPY, which is merely 15,000 USD. And think about it for a minute. And talking about this average income of 6 million JPY, there is only 40% of the population earning so much. And that is why I have written on the title that there is a 60% chance you might have to consider leaving Japan for good, right? If that makes any sense. So, there's a term, right, for all of this blasphemy, and it is called the modern slavery. And I don't know how else to put it. So, I think the so-called, the average income is no more than a distraction to keep your eyes away from the large number of poor people, yeah? And when you have so many low-income populace, which is too difficult to ignore, you can't really, regardless of the average value, and restricting the immigrants from applying for the permanent residence visa based on their income is an epitome of obscenity. And just, if you didn't understand what I just said, or where that came from, I'll just rephrase the whole thing for you in plain English. And that is that I'm just saying, look who's talking, right? It's like, who are you to say that you better be rich enough to live in a country when more than half the countrymen are earning not even as close? Don't you think so? And honestly, who would want to think about living in a country that has an audacity, an audacity of being less than proactively open about 1 in 2 person earning less than the poverty line? Not to mention that there are many places to gamble in Japan that's ruining people's lives even as I speak. And the result is that we have many homeless people living inconspicuously from the public eyes. And homeless or not, I can keep going. There are 1 in 6 children who cannot afford food but the school luncheon alone. Now that is only where they get to eat, which is the only source of the nutrition for the day. And so, whenever there is a holiday, like now, summer holiday, they don't have anywhere to eat in the vicinity because the schools are closed, right? And hence there are places similar to workhouse where they provide meals with exceptionally low price, like $1 for a plate of meal, and you are lucky if you can find one. Damn, it's like, I can just go on forever like this, guys. And all right, so now then, let's talk about stipulation number 2, which is what? Having to contribute to the Social Security for 30 years or more. That's right. So now, honestly, unless you have been employed in a white-collar company for 30 years, which is an incredibly tough hurdle itself, especially in these days of AI replacing people like crazy. I don't even know many Japanese in person, so privileged to have contributed for 30 years in pension. Much less if you are a blue collar. And honestly, I don't even know, if even I can contribute 30 years myself. It's like, even I don't have the confidence. So, once again, who are they to say or tell the immigrants to contribute to the pension for 30 years? It's like, get real. Put it this way, ain't that similar to telling a farmer to produce a vegetable? I don't know, produce vegetables for the next 30 years without fail, but you never know what's going to happen to you in the next 30 years, right? Let alone next year. Like, there could be a drought and a flood, pollution, and etc. And, yeah, last but not least, have to pass the Japanese proficiency test. What I think about that. But, guys, whatever has happened to the English being the common language, and weren't the schools in Japan being proactive and educating people to become globally ready, or was that just a trash or snobbery? And all in all, guys, and if I conclude this whole matter in my own words, right, the repercussion is due. The repercussion is due. Because if something happens to Japan, like a big earthquake or a tsunami, or both, right, likely to be both, it's a commonplace nowadays, and amid this new law being announced, if that's not some kind of karma by any way, right, nobody is going to help Japanese when they have to become the immigrants themselves. Just like how the Americans have been building the walls, right, and at the American-Mexican border, preventing the Mexicans from migrating into the States. It's now the Americans who are moving into Mexico, and that's not because they wanted to, but they had to. And my feeling is that the same is going to happen over here in Japan, because nobody is a stranger to karma. Nobody is. And not to mention that even from 20 years ago, when I was young, we have had many old and retired Japanese immigrants in Southeast Asia, places like Thailand and the Philippines, because they find it financially difficult to live over here in Japan. So what I have been saying about have to leave Japan is neither hypothetical nor unlikely, but is definitely likely to happen. And it is precedented in a considerable scale. Anyway, that said, I'm going to keep my eye on how things turn out, and I will update you if anything, right? And I will see you again soon.